Keep it on that mode.
Get recording. Okay, so I would like to call to order this special meeting of the Franklin Township Board of Supervisors. I'm going to ask that everybody rise for the invocation and remain standing for the salute to the flag. Dear God, I want to thank you again for the many blessings that our township has received. I'm asking during this meeting that you please enlighten our minds and soften our hearts as we listen and engage in discussion concerning the Hereford Manor Lake property. Just ask that you be with everybody here on their way home. I want to thank you for everybody's safety and your presence during this meeting. All this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, we do have a lot of people here at the meeting, and of course this meeting is, the focus is the Hereford Manor Lake property. Everybody will have an opportunity to talk. I just wanted to go over a few things before we begin, and then we can take anybody's questions or comments if that's okay. Okay, so many of us have fond memories of the Hereford Manor Lake property and the area surrounding it, whether it's wildlife, woods, or trails, which I guess is why everybody is here tonight. This was a former fishing and recreation site that was enjoyed by many, and it was drained between 2011 and 2012 due to unsafe structurally deficient dams. This past February, and again, I'm just going to try to summarize this kind of quick, the supervisors, Rodney, Scotty, and myself, agreed to advertise a special meeting to discuss the Hereford Manor property and to extend our contract to purchase it. So going back now to 2023, the supervisors, which Rod wasn't here at that time, but it was Steve Bailey, myself, and Scotty, discussed the possibility of purchasing the Hereford Manor property from the PA Fish and Boat Commission. We discussed about maintaining it as a green space for habitats, for continued habitats for the wildlife, walking trails, horse trails, picnic area, and also possibly partnering with the Beaver County Conservation District for environmental education and possibly even a meeting room for this end of the county. We believe conserving this land for future generations will offer lasting public benefits, maintain essential habitats for wildlife, and ensure future generations can enjoy the same natural beauty that we rely on today. So in 2024, we signed an agreement to purchase the property from the PA Fish and Boat Commission for $470,400. This did not include the gas and timber rights. We have not been able to secure all the funding needed as of today. But last year, at the end of December 2025, we were notified that we were awarded a grant in the amount of $300,000 towards the acquisition of this property. We were also notified there was another grant or two that we did not get along the way. So the purpose of this meeting is to discuss the Hereford Manor Lake property and of course funding options to get the rest of the money. Through talking to some people and Googling, I did find an organization called the Wildlife for Everyone Foundation. And they provided some contact information for the Beaver County Sportsman's Conservation League. The Beaver County Sportsman's Conservation League, I read on their website that their mission is to promote and foster the protection and conservation of our wildlife resources. And through this contact, I had spoke to Jerry Hooks, and I believe he is here tonight. I'm looking at some new faces, maybe not. Okay. Is anybody here from the Beaver County Sportsman's Conservation League? No, okay. So I invited him here because their organization did raise money that was designated for the Hereford Manor Lake. And I know, I don't have an exact amount, but what I was hoping to do tonight was, again, get some input from the public and the other supervisors that we could maybe reach out to them and see if they would consider partnering with us or granting us that money to help us purchase the property. I also reached out to David Adams. He is from the Hereford Manor Lake Conservancy and Watershed Group. They also raised money for the Hereford Manor Lake. It was a restoration, I believe, of the dam. I'm also hopeful that this organization will support the township financially in the acquisition of this land with the money that they raised for Hereford Manor Lake. Also was looking to see if there were any stipulations, if they were willing to grant us that money, what that might be and what the public thinks about that. In this, I've spoke to a lot of residents about this over the years, but I'm just gonna point out Beth Hazen because I did speak to her too. She is passionate about that property and she had mentioned that they may consider donating. Others have said that there may be people in our township that would wanna close the gap between what we have been able to get and what we need to secure the funding. So that pretty much wraps it all up where we're at today and why we're here. But I'm looking for, again, I was hoping that Jerry Hooks was here or somebody from the Beaver County Sportsman's Conservation League or David Adams. You are here, correct? Did you have anything that you wanted to share with us concerning the property? Because again, I know I spoke to you on the phone and invited you to this public meeting, and I'm not here to put you on the spot, but I know your organization raised money for Hereford Manor Lake, and I know the township is interested or request, if the supervisors would agree, to request money, from your nonprofit to the municipality to help purchase that land. I didn't know if that was something you would be interested in.
We are,
Okay,
our group, consists of mainly people, well, some people in Beaver County, but mainly people like myself in Butler County. Unfortunately, I think it's up to the people in Beaver County to move this project forward. Certainly we can give you the money, funds that we have, it's only amount to about $10,000.
that's a substantial amount to help us close that gap.
The group's been dormant now for, I think it was before the pandemic, maybe 6 or 7 years, okay. And so Dave was president at the time, and so the money's just been sitting in a banking account, so yeah. We don't have contact with, well, some of the members have died, but we don't have a working list of people, but I know you are members here too.
Yeah, we have some members, like I said, most of the board, 2 members have died. I was on the board, Gary
Yeah.
and Eric was on the board, we're both Beaver County.
So maybe there would be enough members, there would be
We could vote for
4
the money
members,
to
so
go.
we could vote. Cause actually, we'd sort of like to get rid of
Oh,
responsibility.
yeah. We spent most of our money trying to get it rebuilt. We spent
Yeah.
to get all these projects done, 44,000 here, this and that, getting the
Yeah.
donuts out of the lake. But we couldn't get any support, and then once the big pockets of the airport got involved,
Yeah,
we kinda got pushed out.
right.
Well, the
And
money
we
you
were worn
raised
down
is,
too, we were worn down.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
that
we were
time
just
we were.
worn down, and so, but no, when you called, we were excited. I mean, this is good, this is really good.
I was excited to find you.
Yeah, I'm surprised that that fellow from the fish, what was that
Fishing
organization?
boats.
Cause he had come to a couple of Hereford Manor groups.
Yeah, he did.
It was sort of a big cheese in that group,
Well,
and I'm
and maybe
surprised that.
it just maybe our lines got crossed.
Sure,
So
because they were very responsive to,
Mhm.
to what we were trying to do, so I wouldn't stop trying to contact him. Or
Yeah.
contacting somebody there, cause it seemed like it was a formidable group. It was larger than our group, they had more money than our group, they had more political contacts than we did, so I think it would be worth trying to get in touch with somebody.
yeah, he has been accepting of my calls and
Okay,
talking, but
sure, things just,
again, it comes down to, the supervisors, which again, this is the first meeting of maybe many, to discuss this, but the money that you raised it's still it's an impressive amount, and
we had big dreams.
was it specifically to get the lake back, or was it to get the
We wanted
property?
to buy it.
Okay,
We wanted to buy it, and the plan was, Dave and John Ball went to a meeting in Harrisburg to express their concern about the gas rights and the lights. And they found out that that money was gonna be put towards retirement for employees of the government. It was just a big farce. They had no intentions of having any type of, relationship with us, you know, so sort of things from that sort of. And then John retired, or he retired and they got sick, and Dave was the next person, and I think you were vice president, right? And so, and it just dissolved, you know, it just dissolved, so. But yeah, this is great.
Yeah, it is, it's exciting.
It is exciting, you have $300,000, that's a lot of move up.
Well, that was thanks to a grant, you know,
Yeah, but
so
still, it's there,
Yeah.
it's great.
it's more than half, so
Oh,
that's,
jeepers, that's great.
thankful
And
for
there's this community, I mean, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that wanna donate,
Yes, okay, good,
that wanna be part of it.
good.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. What was your first name?
It's Jean, yeah.
Okay. So next, I know I did speak, you know, just briefly, to Jeff Plouffe from the Beaver County Conservation District, and did you speak to him also?
For 3 minutes, yes.
Yeah, and I know when we had first started this, and I don't wanna put you on the spot, Jeff, but we had talked about, I don't wanna say an environmental center, but a way to have somebody out there to possibly teach with the children from the local schools and such. Can you give just a brief description, about what that would entail?
Yeah, some of you that may have visited our office and classroom in Independence Township, we offer it environmental education there. We have a wetlands, over a mile trails, those kind of things. But we have seen, especially post-COVID, that it's harder to get classrooms, schools to pay for the transportation to bring kids to our office. And unfortunately, we're not central. We are exact opposites of where we are from Franklin Township. So actually, I've been the executive director for 5 years now, going on 6. Prior to me, there was already works to try to find a northern location to build basically a satellite office, satellite classroom. So I'm looking at Hereford Manor, we're looking at Hereford Manor, this is Dom, the vice chair for our board, to basically not fully duplicate. We're not looking to have 2 offices, but have a classroom, hopefully fully as alternative energy as possible, solar panels and those kind of things for electrical needs. But basically have a classroom there, because like Riverside is very good with our Envirothon, those kind of things. They do truck down to Radius Run for that, but they won't come to Independence. That's just an hour, it's just too far. I can't speak for them, but it does generate more likelihood for us to get Riverside to come to Hereford Manor. And I mean, we don't necessarily just cater to Beaver County, so we'll be asking Elwood, saying whoever. But that is semi-goal. The other goal is, and Mr. Saucasey and Chris Fisher was just talking, we typically offer outreaches to farmers as well. 80% of our attendance during those meetings are at our office is from the southern part of the county, because again, the farmer doesn't want to drive an hour and 10 minutes to our office. The goal would be for us to actually have 2 outreaches, one for the southern part of the county, one for the northern part of the county, those kind of things. So I don't know if that's a brief enough
That's
description.
fine, thank you. So, is there anybody from the township, any of the residents would like to comment at all about Hereford Manor Lake, or do you have any questions? If you didn't sign up yet, would you?
I have another,
Yeah, go ahead. There's a seat over there.
Representative Bernstein, before he took his first term, came to several meetings, and I guess he had 3 goals to be elected, and one of those goals was to save Hereford Manor. So that's one of the ones he ran on, and I'd contact him in an instant. Because he promised he was going to save Hereford Manor, and then he went off to Big and better.
We can ask
Now
him for a
he's-
check.
now he's permanent.
You got redistricting is what he did.
Well,
Yeah,
but
redistricting.
what I'm saying is, what harm would it be to contact him?
Yeah, and ask
He
him for a
might
check
have-
or,
Ask him for his support, because he probably has different avenues for different grants. You never know, you just never know.
Yeah, and since he's not in our district, I did not reach out to him initially, but I did the other day, fill out the forum on his website and waiting
Yeah.
for a call back, to discuss it. Again, to maybe even look for a mailing list of people that are, are passionate
Absolutely.
about it.
Cause that was one of the three goals, one of them was gonna save Hereford Manor Lake, and then he's gonna retire after 3 years. But he was passionate about Hereford Manor, so I'm definitely, go for it, what have you got to lose?
This is true. This is true.
You might say that Dave and Jean Adams suggested that, and Dave was the president at that time.
I
He
will.
might have some,
I can send him the video too,
yeah.
after this, meeting.
So Dana, is the main purpose of this meeting to address the funding?
To address the funding and
Opportunities?
to address funding opportunities and get some feedback from the residents. I'd say 99% of the feedback that we've received, at least I've received, have been positive about getting the property. A lot of people, I think one of the pushbacks we got is we will have to police it and watch it and maintain it. But regardless of who gets that property, we are going to have to police it and watch it. And if there's roads in there that we will be taking care of. I know one thing with, we all know about the development coming in next door, which is, almost 300 acres, of land that's gonna be taken over for houses. It would be nice to be able to keep that area green for the wildlife, like I said, for people to enjoy. None of us know what the future holds, but we do know that land is gonna continue to be gobbled up by developers, and I'm not, we built a house in 2000, so we're just as guilty as taking down trees, but no more land is being made. And to be able to preserve this, I think, for future generations, whether it's my grandkids or my great-grandkids, that's what's essential. That is something that we can leave, as a township, a legacy, for these kids. But funding is a big part of it, because even though our contract is gonna be extended, and even though we can apply for more grants, we need to have, something else in place, for this. So that is why we're all here. And again, we would need, permission from the supervisors to move forward and ask, to be able to solicit funds. It's not something that I can just go out and
How long has the contract been extended to?
for another year.
For another
It would
year?
be for another
So
year.
you have a whole nother year to generate those additional funds.
Yeah, but we don't wanna wait another year. I would like to get this nipped in the butt before the end of 2026. The plan is to
Grant's
get,
good till for all that time as well?
excuse me?
The grant doesn't expire?
The grant is good for a couple years, actually.
And what's the shortfall, just so that folks understand?
$174,400 right now. And again,
So we're
well,
not
no, down
164.
164, 163, 200 maybe. I'm not sure if I did my math right, but every little bit helps. Somebody had said, if we do accept donations from the public, depending if we could get this other group to possibly contribute the money they raised for the Hereford Manor property to help us acquire it, that would close the gap even further, and then we would be down to somewhere around $50,000. So it is definitely doable. And I know we have enough people in our township. Our township is giving in a time of need, and I'm not saying that this is a time of need specifically, like nobody's life is depending on this, but the property is important to everybody here, and I feel passionately about it too, so.
So, go ahead.
That's a,
Just as another, what happens if we don't get it?
well, if we don't get it, I would assume, I don't know what would happen.
Well,
I mean,
let's guess.
I would assume that a neighboring township, would acquire it, and who
Yes.
knows what could happen. Some people say they can never build on it, but we all
Never
know
say
that
never.
conservation land still can, or wetlands can still be filled in and houses built on it. It's happening in Jackson Township or Harmony, I'm not sure which, right now. But I would like to see, because it's in Franklin Township, for Franklin Township to have the control over it, and like I said, keep it for future generations.
If somebody else got a different place, would they pay the taxes on it then?
Not if it's a nonprofit
Or another municipality.
or another municipality, yes.
Or you can actually go from one county to the other, get away with that?
Yeah, I mean, from a legal perspective, they could potentially, I mean, that's an entirely
A gray area.
different, issue that I haven't considered from a legal perspective. You know, for the time being, it would be the Fish and Game Commission that would own the property, so it would be no different than what we've seen since.
Until something else would
Until
happen.
something
But
else
that could
happens,
happen.
correct. But to answer the specific question, as Dana correctly indicated, if it's a nonprofit, they're not going to be required to pay any type of real estate taxes.
Dana, did anyone go back to the Game and Fish Commission and ask them to negotiate the price, the difference, or
We have
are
not.
they stuck at that?
We have not, I mean, we did talk to them in the beginning about the price. At that point in time, it was what it was assessed at, and that came the total price of $470,400. There was another, appraisal done in 2024. The appraisal of that property that time was $686,000. So we, and again, you know, just a little over $1,000 an acre. And I know it doesn't include the gas and mineral rights, but any money that goes to the Fish and Boat Commission or Fish and Game Commission, which are Fish and Boat Commission, so, you know, the money they get, the revenue they get from fishing license, boat registrations, and of course, they get excise tax. They don't get state money. I did not realize that. You know, that money then goes to fish hatcheries, the stocking of the streams, habitat conservation, boating infrastructure, waterways conservation officers, and of course, they give grants for local conservation projects. Any money that we pay them, whether it was $200,000, $400,000, or $600,000, is still going back to the projects that I would say this entire room is passionate about. We're not just giving the money away for somebody to go buy a new car. It's gonna go back into, I'm not saying specifically our community, but communities across Pennsylvania.
Right.
And to me, it makes sense.
Okay,
We're
who
not
takes
throwing
on
it.
the cost of building these buildings and these outreach buildings and educational buildings? Where are we getting that money?
Well, it's not gonna be outreach buildings or multiple buildings. There was talk of a small facility for the farmers to meet on this end of the town. And if that was something that the supervisors and the residents were all in favor of, that would be their cost, not our cost. And as far as improving or maintenance or infrastructure of the property, like we would look at getting grants in the future, not using the taxpayer dollars. That is the goal. Nothing is gonna happen overnight. If we were to acquire this property in a day or tomorrow, there's not going to be anything happening like next year. It's gonna take time because we would need an architect to come in and let us know exactly what can be done, where the best places are for, you know, walking trails or horse trails or what have you. Our first goal is to acquire the property, so.
Yeah, and from our side, we'd be looking at grants to build the building as well, as we have some savings and those kind of things, but it's, I can't say it's gonna be exactly the size of a classroom, so say classroom and a half. So if you're at Riverside, that's the size we're looking at, basically a glorified picnic pavilion. But we do want to have at least some all-season abilities, maybe not in freaking negative 15 degrees, but, so it will be enclosed, so that way the school kids have to be protected. There does have to be restrooms, so we, unless we hook up to city water, we would have to go with the district's DEP water testing and stuff, just like any other school. So, but that would be the responsibility of the district, and again, we would be looking at getting grants. And actually, even today, we were talking to some individuals about grants for the building. Don't know if it'll happen, but there's a potential of $1 million. Potential. Again, it's a 50-50 coin flip right now. So we're not promising anything, but that would be our goal. The main thing would be also to look at installing some environmental education BMPs, best management practices. So like a riparian buffer, we all know there's some acid mine drainage because of the coal seam they hit. Looking at getting grants for those so that we can use those as show and tell, as education. But when I say this, we're talking 2 decades of work, not next year. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question more fully?
Yeah.
Thank you.
If we partnership with Conservation District, will that allow us access to a different pool of grants that we might not be able to?
Unfortunately, no. We used to
Okay.
we used to be a 501c3 and we dropped it because we just didn't see the benefit of that.
Okay.
Now, however, we have worked with other 501c3s to get pass-through grants. Typically, we're paying 5 to 7% on that grant to do that. And we have done that and we're prepared to do that as needed. So because especially like maintenance, we've all talked about that. The district would not be able to apply for a maintenance grant, where going through a 501c3, they have a better ability to get a maintenance grant, especially like if we use a grant to get a trail started for environmental education, 5 years down the road, whatever, we need to do some maintenance to that, upgrade walking bridges or whatever. The district probably would not qualify for that grant, where a 501c3 would be. And again, we would lead it, but we would tie into some of our nonprofits that we have a memorandum of understandings with to get that grant through them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanna confirm that the lakes would never be refilled, is that correct? Or as far as you know?
As far as I know. I don't think a pond is out of the question. Like,
Okay, I didn't know if that was a possibility or.
at one time, you know, looking back, there was talk about that.
$28 million.
How much was that?
$28 million to have one lake instead of 2.
That's
For
why all the money
75.
was donated for the lakes to come back.
Well, that was donated, we had to get a feasibility study, it's crazy.
So Brian McConnell,
Yeah, I mean, going off of the mine drainage issue that's out there, I think that I made sure that was documented. So DEP has an actual report. The mine drainage actually comes out into the stream about 200 yards up from Route 288, upstream of that, is where the mine drainage actually starts and is impacting the stream. It's probably pretty far down low on DEP's priority list. However, since the Fish and Boat Commission can manage some of those activities to improve stream quality that would impact, one, the wetlands that are below in the area, below, that lead up to Connoquenessing Creek, and impacts to Connoquenessing Creek, which the Fish and Boat Commission and DEP have already expended a lot of funds to improve the water quality there. And being that this was documented, it was July of 2020, I think 2022 or something like that, when I filed the complaint and had them come out and look at this. What you may be able to do is take that information and get it well established and have a like-kind exchange where the gap in funds that the Fish and Boat Commission wants for the property, the $174,000 and change, and apply that to a grant to address the mine drainage. That might, if they would do kind of a like-kind exchange and give you the grant in order to correct the problem that is partly their problem. This is partly their fault. So, you know, there may be some room to negotiate that $174,000 to back to in lieu of them coming around, you know, when it ever rises up to the priority where they would come back in and address it. If they address it now and do that like-kind exchange off the price of the property, you might be able to, that project today is gonna be cheaper than what it's gonna be 10 years from now. And do that now and get that started. You might be able to
negotiate that into the sale of the property so that, one, you're addressing an environmental hazard, two, you're improving stream quality, and you're meeting goals of both the agencies and involved, and it's, so it's more than a win-win-win for everybody. So it's something that maybe you could consider with in talking with the Fish and Boat Commission, that maybe they could look at that and lower the price by improving the environment.
That's gonna be a very difficult sell, and I'll tell you why, because as you said, you entered a complaint. I'm sure the department came out, and when I say department, I'm sorry, it's slang for the district, DEP. When the department came out, they of course documented their complaint.
Right.
I will say this about the department from working with them. It doesn't matter if it's another state organization, if it's enough of an environmental hazard, they will go after that. So in this case, they would have already went out after the Fish and Boat Commission. So with that, and what I do know about the grants that we process, you're actually better in this case to have the ownership, because if you can mark it down as a municipal green space, or especially as an environmental recreational center, you automatically rank higher on what's called growing greener grants and stuff. Now granted, there is a max to typically those grants of approximately $450,000, does change depending on the state budget and those kind of things. But you typically have to have that ownership, and again, show it as a municipality property, but not like for your fire department, but for education, outreach, those kind of things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I worked for DEP for 16 years, so, and I partnered with the Fish Commission on many, many projects. Got them a lot of money and so forth. But yeah, so I'm very familiar with the exchange there, and actually with the Southwest region of Pennsylvania DEP and the Fish and Boat Commission, there has been a very good relationship between those two agencies.
Yeah, and then the other aspect here again, but again, you have to have ownership, is Penvest. So I know a lot of municipalities know about Penvest for more like the water lines and sewer lines. But like just even last year, we did a $2 million Penvest grant for farm BMPs. And it's not just for farm BMPs. We could absolutely apply for Penvest for the Assamiden drainage, riparian buffers, those kind of things to really put Franklin Township on the map for environmental outreach and education. Does that make sense? But unfortunately, all the ones that I know about require you to have the ownership and control first.
Well, and there is ownership with it currently being owned by the Fish and Boat Commission, so you're halfway through that hurdle. Even if the ownership would change over to Franklin Township, you would still have a municipal government or a state government with that ownership that could move those grants, and certainly they would be able to negotiate, the cost of that within, as a, like I say, as an in-kind exchange, where they administer where the Fish and Boat Commission would administer a grant that they would be giving you essentially off the price of the property in order to get that project moving forward and get it raised up on the priority list. And it's something that certainly you could look at.
Dana, may I?
Yeah.
I have two questions. One, did the Sportsman League give you an idea of what funds? Because it was my understanding it was earmarked.
Oh.
That's what
I
I thought.
apologize, I thought it started at 6:30.
That's okay.
That's what I had written down, so I thought I was getting here a little early.
Oh. So wait, can I just, you're David? Or not?
Jerry
Jerry Hooks,
yeah.
okay. So, I did, before you came, let me just find it here. I did say that the Wildlife for Everyone Foundation provided your contact information, and you are with the Beaver County Sportsman's Conservation League.
Yes.
And you, and your group, raise money for Hereford Manor Lake.
Right.
Okay.
And I can answer a few questions that I've heard, but it started out, as sportsmen, we represent like 20 sportsman clubs in and around Beaver County. And so obviously we all grew up fishing at Hereford when it was a pay lake and when it became a state lake. And so whenever it went away, there were 22 lakes in Pennsylvania that had an earthen dam, and they were all breached. Well, we got 21 of them back because the dams were a lot smaller. Hereford's really unique with the length of that dam and the airport being across the street. And then whenever they sold some land off to the airport, we were like, uh-oh, you know, because we knew the jet engine was now coming, and what really halted everything was they don't wanna take off in a jet over a piece of water that holds migrating birds, which I understand, but, you know, it was fine as a prop airport, but I know Stonewall had a lot to do with that, you know, wanting the bigger airport to bring more people in, things like that. But anyway, the other thing is, and as far as the mine subsidence money, I walked that creek, I took pictures, I got them on my phone. We did water samples, we talked to the Fish Commission, and they basically said, it's not bad enough, you know. And if you walk that creek, I mean, there's a lot of rough spots and things along the way, but the other thing is, at one time, we had it negotiated all the way to where the Fish Commission offered it to the Beaver County Commissioners free of charge. And they turned it down. I couldn't believe it. And even though it wasn't gonna be a lake, they just said, you know, we got, Brady's Run. And I said, yeah, that's in the southwest corner. If you had something in the northwest corner that people could utilize more, it would be great, you know what I mean? So we went that route too. But anyway, we did raise money, and when it was fighting it, meeting with, the head of the Fish Commission, head of the Game Commission, you know, we put the money into a, fund with the Wildlife for Everybody, an endowment fund. And the money grew, you know, right now, we originally put in 69,000, but right now it's closer to 120,000. So it did grow over the time period. I did have a meeting with the Beaver County Sportsman's Conservation League. And told them I was coming here for a fact-finding meeting to, so I could go back to them. But everybody seemed like they were pretty excited that at least something was gonna be done. They, you know, last thing we wanna do is lose more ground to housing plans and developments, that type of thing. So, you know, yeah. So anyway, I'm trying to think what else we did, but, you know, we tried everything. But the biggest thing is, you know, we had a bunch of concerned citizens that jumped on board that got us to 69, and since then it was able to grow. Like I said, I think right now it's maybe 118,000 or something, but I think if I pull that money out, I have like a 8% penalty or a 7% penalty for pulling it out. But we're willing to listen, we're willing to get on board. I know there was some concerns for us. You know, I went to the commissioners and along with a friend of mine, he was my partner in all this stuff, and he's passed away since, so it's basically fell on me and coming back. But you know, one thing we did negotiate at Brady's Run, we do hold a goose hunt there once a year for youth and adults. You know, it's all managed. We have people that oversee everything. And then we did get the park open for hunting, muzzleloader, archery. Not only that park, Rush Creek Park, and well, Brady, Raccoon is a state, but we did get portions of that all opened up. So that's, if I had to say anything for me to take back, if we could somehow control a permit hunting or something in there, archery hunting or something, that would be a plus. And then, you know, the other organization I was president for years, I'm a director still, but the Beaver County Sportsman's Youth Foundation, that's a 501c3. So we do raise money there. We're very interested in kids, and we hold all kind of camps and field days and you name it. And so this would be an avenue for us to do something there and bring a group in, whether it's hiking, education, like he had stated, and go from there. Matter of fact, one of our days in our camp goes to the conservation district and tours that and visits that. So, but yeah, again, I apologize. I'm a little late for the meeting.
Yeah, that'd be a great youth pheasant hunt place.
Yeah, oh, it'd be great. That would, yeah. But anyway, it'd just be up to you all as far as controlling of what you would allow and things like that. Now, obviously, your busiest time's gonna be, you know, spring, summer, early fall, you know, and then, you know, that's when other activities go there, but it would all be managed, marked, publicized, that type of thing.
Jerry, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Would the Sportsman League be concerned, you know the district is open for hunting, but we
Yeah.
control it, they have to sign out, so we make sure there's no hunters on the ground when we have school kids there.
Right.
Would you be opposed of that same principle process for the Hereford Manor Lake property?
No, I mean, you know, safety would be our main concern. And then, but if there's a way, I know, you know, Brady's Run, you have to sign in, get a permit, you know, they gotta know when you're there and you gotta be with somebody for the goose hunt. Now, we wouldn't have to worry about that too much here because all we got is the creek going down through it. But, you know, I applaud you for wanting to get that. Last thing we're gonna do is see Jackson Township build Seneca Valley School District back up. Now, am I wrong? This is Riverside though, right?
Riverside.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, all they wanna do is approach anymore this way.
Yeah, and again, as you probably know, you know, there's a development just across the road that's almost 300 acres that they'll be putting houses on.
Right.
And again, the property, even though Franklin Township would wanna buy it, you know, just reading the, description on your website, you know, people come from all around to hunt there. It was not just Franklin Township or Beaver County, it was, people came from all over to fish that lake.
They do now, I mean, they
Yeah.
come from all over to hunt it now too.
And I may be wrong, but, you know, Allegheny County and Beaver County sold more fishing licenses. We sold like 70 or 80% of our license around Hereford Manor. Because of the outer staters coming in and the people that in this area that can travel there. It was one of the most, fish lakes in Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Sure, and again, this meeting is a little less formal because everybody's input is it's important, so.
So your number is shrinking. I guess what my question I have is, what is the urgency? Because I can still think if you give it another year, you can apply for other grants. Like, one of the questions I have is, another question I guess, have you applied with Independent Conservancy Allegheny County? Because they're not just for the Allegheny County, they do the region.
I'm gonna say we have not, because it's just not ringing a bell for me, but we can apply for other grants this year. Unfortunately, we won't know until the end of the year. And I'm not saying the urgency, but like, I don't understand, you know, why wait? And again, we don't have to write a check to them next week, but I think in the meantime, again, if everybody's agreeable, that we can ask the public for donations. If for some reason we were able to exceed that dollar amount of $470,000, any leftover money would still go back to, whether it was maintaining habitats or working on trails or whatever it might be. But you know, we need a lot of things in place in order to make that happen. I just don't wanna wait until the end of the year and find out, guess what, guys, you don't have the money, and then we have no time to raise the funds.
So has Fish and Boat agreed to any kind of installment plan, or are you looking at giving them a check at time of closing?
It's looking at giving them a check at time of closing.
Has it been asked if you can do an installment over the next 3 years? Because at that point,
It
you know your
hasn't,
grants
because-
are dead at that point.
Yeah,
That's good thinking.
we wouldn't have the money, like the whole point of, you know, this property's in Franklin Township, but one thing that I think we all agreed on at the beginning is we didn't wanna use the taxpayer funds to purchase it. You know, we wanna, and again, where the grants are coming from, you know, regardless, but there are people that, in our township, that did not want us to use the funds that we have saved, you know, for capital improvements to purchase that land.
And I'm not necessarily saying that, I am saying you go in a little bit blind, but one of the things the district has learned over the last couple of years is sometimes you have to stick your neck out there and just keep applying for grants, and knock on wood, I haven't lost my job because we've been looking at gas, that we haven't pulled anything out of savings. And this might be one of those gambles that you have 300,000, you know you can at least buy yourself a couple of years for that 300,000. Again, if Fish and Boat is willing to negotiate on an installment plan, and we keep hitting the different grants, because there's grants out there all the time. And again, like I said, Independence Conservancy, if you haven't touched them, they're one of the biggest conservancies in this region. And again, we go, even the grant that I was talking about, that we were talking about, as far as possibly helping us build the environmental center, we can go back and pry on them, and also corporations. And then, I mean, also, again, there is sometimes, I can't speak for the state, but there's also penalties. I mean, sorry, maybe you can't. Sometimes the department gets penalties that you can say, hey, we want it funded to
Yes.
this.
Yes.
Cause exactly, there was a penalty that actually is being done in, Raccoon Creek State Park, but it doesn't have to necessarily go to a state park. So I guess I'm saying a little bit now is you got over 50%, you got such a nice nest egg to start. I think it's worth the gamble of rolling the dice over the next 5 years, especially if you have this much cooperation and teamwork to continue looking at those funds or possible funds to come in. Does that make sense? I know it's a gamble. It's a heck of a gamble.
If they're willing to wait and hold on to the property that long, where's the Fish and Boat Commission and all this? Like, they want it clearly to go back here because they offered it, but how long are they willing to wait?
Well, again, we asked for our contract to be extended a year. I
From
can't,
what date?
from May, I think it was this May that it.
So it was
due to
good till
expire.
May of 27 then?
Yes,
And the grant that we did get won't expire?
no,
And again,
Well,
though,
it's a year.
you have to look at the Fish and Boat. One, they have all the mineral rights and they have the timber rights.
Yeah.
And they don't want the liability. I mean, they don't want the liability, so you have that as a little bit of a negotiation tool to say, hey, we do this under an installment plan, we take the responsibility, you lose the liability, cause granted, I mean, as you said, there's more and more hunters there, and technically, it's on the hunter if they get hurt. But we all know you can sue for anything in the United States,
Right.
so
Brian,
the
where's your
Fish and
head in all
Boat
this?
does not want to have to worry about that all the time either. In my mind,
Brian, what's your thoughts?
No, I mean, that's a possibility. I know we attempted on several occasions initially with respect to the purchase price to reduce that purchase price. Their general counsel made it very clear that they wanted Franklin Township to end up with it, so we perhaps do have some capital with the commission to go back to them, and if that's something the supervisors wanna do, investigate alternative financing arrangements with them, an installment plan, whatever the case might be, but it's certainly, up to what the supervisors wanna do.
I do not foresee us going into any financial installment loan, to purchase the property. I just don't think that most of the taxpayers in this township are gonna be pleased with that. That's my initial thought on it.
And as
I'm
it
not sure what
stands
the
now,
others think, but that's what I'm
and as it stands now, that was the one thing you folks did make clear back in 23 when we entered into this agreement, is that the purchase and acquisition of the Hereford Manor property was specifically conditioned upon it being subsidized by grant dollars and not dollars specifically from the coffers of Franklin Township.
Because although we're all interested in it, not everybody has the extra funds to help, I guess, pay for a future
Am I right?
installment.
Is there a $40,000 gap if you take into consideration, if you get that money approved? $120,000,
Yeah.
is 10, right?
Minus 7%.
Minus
Yeah.
the,
Yeah.
Minus
Well,
7%.
call it
So
100.
you're talking about a $40,000 gap,
Ish.
so we're not.
You have your checkbook, Dan?
I'm just trying to do my math
Okay, so,
here.
yeah, we
So-
can have 10 people give, 4 people give $10,000, we.
So let me ask you something about your hunting. If you guys, how often would you be down there hunting? Whenever, would it be be like just open, 'cause right now, people can hunt there anytime they want,
Right.
from wherever.
Exactly, but, you know, now when you have walking trails, possible mountain bike trails, that type of
Right.
thing, you know, I know my son-in-law is in charge of the one in Brady's Run, mountain bikes, and, you know, they're up there working all the time, clearing stuff, but they also know there could be a hunter in the woods someplace, most of the time it's an archery hunter, you know, so, you know, they're more, I wouldn't say more aware, but
It should be restricted.
you know, it's more quiet and stuff like that, but you would be looking into, you know, October, November,
He's not gonna allow
December, but that would be it. So, and again, I think right now Brady's Run is, archery, and then it'd be the week after Christmas would be, I think, the day after Christmas starts muzzleloader, if that's what everybody would decide on. But I know, you know, being president of Rochester Sportsman and also, very involved in the Conservation League and Youth Foundation, everything, we're nothing but pro hunters, right? So, we'll hunt wherever we can, but you also gotta be able to be respectful and, you know, you're always gonna have the guy that's gonna screw up somehow safety-wise, but, hopefully that never happens.
But where those parks are, there's no high-powered rifles anywhere in the area. We're here,
You could
have
regulate
high-powered rifles,
whatever
right.
you want, you could say no muzzleloader, but you could say archery, you know what I
Right.
mean? And then it could be, only way you can hunt here is not with a climber stand, but with a ladder, and your ladder has to be removed, you know,
tag, name.
Tags,
That's the way it is now.
just like a state game land.
Supposed to be like that.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
what
you
it is.
should, but that doesn't happen, you know.
So the hunting that you're proposing as a stipulation for granting Franklin Township those funds would be the same type of hunting that you already do at Brush Creek Park?
Bush Creek and,
Brady's Run.
And then the other one's a state park. so that's
Okay,
a little bit different.
raccoon.
That's a good point, because the one thing that's in the back of my mind is, because my land borders that, and I go down there and I take my dog that looks like a bear. It's a Newfoundland.
It does
I've
look
had
like-
a couple of them that shoot them. But, so you would have, I mean, not just, there's a lot of people, not a decent amount of people that walk their dogs down through there, so
Yeah.
you'd have that you'd be dealing with.
Yeah, and you would have, obviously, the game commissioner would still patrol it, but you could go to the point, like, I have 1,600 acres out in Illinois, I'm, part of a gun club out there where we hunt, and, you know, we have things we put on our dash that say, a permit from Franklin County that, you're allowed to park there, hunt there. And that notifies everybody, hey, this guy's here. And if the game commission wants to sit there and wait for them to walk out, they say, let me see your permit, or when you signed up at the Franklin Township, municipal building. I mean, there's a lot of ways, and we could sit down with Beaver County and go over how they
Yeah.
control.
But that goes on everywhere too. I mean, you got west, all those block management plans.
Yeah, you got North Park, you got South Park, you got,
Yeah, that's
it's
very
all
common.
controlled hunting.
So they're dealing with it already, with the
Oh, yeah.
other parties, which is good.
And you wouldn't be walking your dog in first day of, archery or rifle
Not
season
bear
anyway,
season.
right? Not in the woods, I would assume.
Not,
Yeah,
at
I
the
don't
end
go
of
in
the
the
day,
woods.
or.
Well, right there, that guy that stands right on the
Yeah.
property line.
We do, we've gone by
can
there,
walk
there've been
right in.
people in blinds hunting, when
Yeah.
Scott and I have walked back
Yeah,
there.
and I
so-
don't walk in the woods when it's hunting season.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I don't
no.
wanna
Right.
get shot,
Yeah.
so.
Well, this is a question I have now, cause I was gonna talk about this, but, you know, we have a small business and my wife always tells me that, you know, just because that money's in the checkbook doesn't mean it's not spoken for. And my thing to that was, over 32 years of marriage, that she's taught me that, that's not always spendable. And we're gonna have to maintain this, we're gonna have to mow it. If it's 400 acres and there's trails, do we have the personnel, township, the road workers, are we gonna have to bring on more road workers to handle this? And are the insurance, are we covered as a township, when hunters come in? How's that gonna work? You know, I mean, can we afford that? Is it gonna be, you know, God forbid, you know, we're blessed to have these people here trying to donate us money as a foundation to keep our lake. our property, but can we afford this? Can we afford the insurance? Can we afford to maintain it? We're talking about getting the money, but when we do get the money, which I feel confident that we will, can we upkeep this? Can we maintain it as a township? We secure that we can do that without grants. I was like, you know, we're gonna put on new road workers, that doesn't come from a grant, that would come from
We don't plan on
taxes.
putting any new road workers, but I do know that we did just keep a piece of equipment from going to sell because our road crew said we could maybe use this out there. But for the future, we don't have a plan to say, this is what it's gonna cost to mow. I don't foresee us mowing, a large area of the area, not even next year. You know, what I foresee is an area to park for residents to actually get back in there and not doing anything for, it will be many years. It's not, again, to
But if
get
you're
this
mowing
is not.
trails, you're gonna have to have a large mower that is able.
Most of the
The trails,
Most are just voluntary work.
Well,
I do a
and-
lot of voluntary work out there.
There's the key.
And if I could add,
Yep, go ahead.
you know, one of the things, since we do have members of the public here that are extremely interested in the conservation of Hereford Manor is, I mean, there could be the creation of another 501c3, the partnership specifically with the township for purposes of fundraising relative to the maintenance of the various trails, the property itself. I'm sure there's a relationship that we could have with Jeff and other folks. But that's all what ifs, Tim, quite frankly, because we don't know what the community's gonna wanna do in 20 or 30 years. But those are options, and then ongoing grant dollars for the maintenance of those trails. So, I mean, I think there's the desire on behalf of my client to continue to do this without necessarily using significant sums of, again, the coffers of the township and what you folks pay the taxes into.
But for insurance purposes, we're gonna have to spend some money because it's not, you know, my insurance is ridiculous, I'm a small business owner. So. and
Yeah,
we-
I don't
we
Oh,
believe
I
our
get that.
insurance is going
No,
to
we're gonna
increase
have it.
dramatically with the acquisition of the park, cause I know we had spoke with, Shannon about this before at one of our prior meetings.
That was looked into.
Yeah, it was looked into.
And it worked.
There was no
The
substantial.
numbers weren't
no.
significant,
There was
correct?
Not even with the hunting?
No, I mean, cause again, the liability really falls on the hunter. Again, it goes back to communication. You have to have rules established. You have to have those policies established, so that way you don't have the liability. But to your point too, you have to look at this as a small business. You're taking steps every year. So back to the trails and stuff, like the district gets about 2-3 Eagle Scout projects a year. This is a great Eagle Scout project for them to do the trails, for them to start the trails. And that's great education for themselves. They have to do 50% of the fundraising all by themselves, those kind of things. So again, there's another win-win-win. But to your point, even at the district, we don't currently have a handyman hired. We use volunteers on a weekly basis. And that's the establishment that you need to look at. But it's gonna take a year, 2 years, 3 years to get that all established.
Does a supervisor volunteer?
Yeah, you can supervisor can volunteer.
Senior project.
No, we're not
Scotty has a track record.
Their project, they're not maintaining anything out there now, so, I mean,
Right.
except for this dude.
Yeah,
He deserves a
Thank
pat
you.
on the back, the fishing boat, you know, so there's, you know, this is, we gotta keep the land, we got to get the land, we gotta keep it at all costs.
And did you wanna tell us what you have been doing out there? Give us your name. Now that she's-
Sam Spiker.
one?
I live right over the hill from Hereford Manor. The last 8-9 years, I've put in hundreds of hours in voluntary work on opening up old trails, reconditioning trails. I've probably doubled the amount of actual miles of trails out there, probably to about 5 or almost 6 miles of trails out there. Just by myself, I just saw a need and decided to step in and fill the need for the community. I know that everybody needs this property. So, willing to put in the time and hard work to make this place grow.
Thank you for everything that you've done.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. in the mapping of the trails? Is that you?
We have a rough map,
Okay,
Yeah, you do.
but,
It's a great map, I just
it's
used it.
a rough map, but,
I
it
did
can be
find the
improved.
glass farm, I did find the glass field, so
Okay,
thank you.
good, good. Good.
so is there anybody else?
Well, the only thing I was gonna say, as far as if you acquired this tomorrow, the biggest maintenance issue is upkeep of trails, like trees that fall down.
Mhm.
Got 'em. There's a bridge that's,
Yep,
I
yep.
found her the other day, but other than that, there isn't grass, this isn't like Brush Creek Park where you got a road going through and it has to be maintained by road crews, you know, and there aren't ball fields and everything. There aren't picnic areas and all those, out down the road, those are the kinds of things that we could aspire to as a township if that's what we want. You know, I don't know if that's really the route you wanna go anyways, but.
Walking, Brush Creek the other day, was on the trail, and, you know, again, there's a couple different trees down, you know, water, you know, you just kind of make your way around it. Nothing that I walked on would ever be mowed. It just, you know, was a nature trail, you know, that's what it was.
There isn't grass to mow down it,
And I think I'm guessing, like, when you're thinking of walking trails, maybe paved areas, you know, that winds through the park.
No, Dan, I'm a hunter.
I mean, I don't know, I'm trying to think, like, you know,
Realize what
mowing
kind of
and.
trails you're talking
4 or
about.
5
Okay.
years
I'm probably screwed up some of your hunts.
What's
You
that?
still need to maintain them.
What
Yeah.
you were,
Still need to maintain
The
it.
biggest thing that would need to be probably addressed is parking down there. Cause there's very limited parking space, you know, you can park maybe 5 or 6 cars in the one little makeshift parking lot.
Yeah.
The old one, you'd have to, I don't even know if that's part of it, the old parking lot, that might be the
Not
airport.
anymore,
Like,
that's airport.
they own
People
that.
still go up there though.
Yeah, but
Well, you probably don't wanna open that back.
but you know, with our township, again, mostly, you know, farms, communities, you know, one point in time, we all know that some of those will be developed. I'm hoping, you know, we have the Conneconnessen Creek, which most people do not have access to. You know, there's a small area in our township where people are able to access it. You know, Hereford Manor will be a place for generations to enjoy, whether it is hunting. Not everybody has a place to hunt here. Not everybody has you know, I'm sure we get a lot of, every farmer probably gets a lot of people asking if they can hunt on their land. You can't let everybody there, not everybody's comfortable with it. We'll have to put some rules in place. We'll need a Parks and Recreation Board, and I know I'd messaged you about that. Like, there's a lot of things that have to come into play for this. I don't wanna, not for it to work, but there's a lot of things for it to come into play, for things to happen in the future to make it better. But right now, we need to get the money to buy it.
Yes.
So is there a downside if we just counter offer with asking if we can purchase it for the funds that we have available in this fiscal year?
I don't think it's necessarily a downside, but I think that I feel they have been generous with us, especially seeing the new appraisal of the property, even though we're not getting the gas rights and the timber rights.
Well, they were gonna give it to,
I know,
Beaver County, Richard, so they're not that generous.
yeah.
Didn't they get it for $1?
You get the money he has, if he donates that, and the money you already have and the funding, you
Yeah.
can make him an offer with that.
Yeah.
Nothing venture, nothing gain. Well,
Yeah.
just if they say no, then, you know.
Or come up with the other 40 grand, you know?
Yeah. Are they completely sold on not selling the timber rights with the property? Because
That tree's
that
left.
could really be a big,
That was the last time we were talking.
Yeah, I mean, that was,
Yeah.
that was.
there's a couple
no-go.
$100,000 worth of wood in there. And they could just come in years after you purchase it and just totally destroy it. You establish it and then you're starting everything.
They have an
over.
agreement with the airport on most of that timber. I don't think we can get involved with that.
Yeah, I mean, that was something that was discussed with them at length.
Yeah.
Many people.
It depends what,
yeah.
I mean, we can reach out to them and propose we have potentially
That's my
X
only
number
biggest
of dollars in place. Would you be willing to modify the purchase price if we could close, you know? If they know they're gonna be getting rid of the property sooner as opposed to later and it's going to a township, that might be worth it. I mean, I'm certainly not making promises that that's gonna be the case. I mean, we may still have to fundraise the additional difference or the bridge.
Ted, talk.
Yeah, relative to the timber, it would be nice if they would be negotiable to go in and select cut. not clear cut.
Right, right.
All right, so you have a little bit of
Right.
control,
Mhm.
okay? Now, you establish the walking trails, et cetera, and they sell all the timber, these guys come in, cut everything down to 4 inches,
Yeah.
leave treetops everywhere.
Yep.
If you could get them to negotiate that they would say, select cut, nothing under 12 inches, you know, and they would do it on a periodic basis, come in.
How
And
about
do it.
the
That's the
shells?
way I control the
We
timber.
might
on
lose
my
our
farm.
farm.
I refuse to allow clear cutting. You know, just throw that out as a suggestion. They still have the rights, but
I think because of who they are, they would not ever wanna clear cut, you know,
don't know.
again, for conservation purposes, I
That's a
wouldn't
good
think that
point,
that would
though.
be, in the plan, but
Yeah.
I don't
How would
know.
the hunting club
We,
feel about
we're
that?
getting with some bad press on that.
As far as the clear cutting or?
Yeah, like a
you know,
select
selective cuts?
Yeah.
I mean, that wouldn't be any problem. I mean, but sometimes you gotta it's not clear cut, never clear cut, but
Right.
selective cut,
Yes.
only to let the new growth come
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Sometimes it's healthy for the
Cross.
rocks.
Yeah, it helps.
It's a crop.
You know, the only other thing I wanna say is, you know, we're hearing a lot about, what about this, what about that? I think the main thing is, and again, we can fundraise and, you know, I can help with that end of it, for additional things down the road, but the main thing is this group here is, you know, they see the need for that property. So the big thing is just secure it, and then the wants, wishes, and desires can come after that. You know, I've already talked to my son-in-law, he's like #1 mountain biker in the area, and, you know, he's raced all over the world. So, I already said to him, hey, if they acquire that property, I might need you to map out a course.
There's always there's a good base there for
Yeah, and he said,
trails.
he like looked at me, you know, cause he maintains Brady's Run, and he holds races there, a couple races a year there for everybody to come in, but, and he looked at me with, yeah, I guess so. You know, but I mean, twisting his arm a little bit, I'm sure we could help that.
Just add it to the list.
That's what you need, you just need people that'll step up.
Yep.
But the main thing is, just get the property, and then all the, like I said, all the wants, wishes, and desires can all be filled in down the road.
I like it, yeah.
I agree.
Because when people say, oh, we need this, we need that, as a president of several organizations, I always say, oh, well, you're in charge of that then.
Right.
And then you go, oh, I don't want anything to do with that. You know what I mean? But the main thing is, you got a good group here, you know, I mean,
We have a good we do have a good township and a good group of
yeah,
residents.
and nobody wants to see it destroyed, you know, when I came the back roads all through here, you know, and, you know, I fished at Bates Lake years ago, my buddy lived on Church Street or Church Road, right above, right above the, lake there, and, you know, it makes me feel good to see there's still farm country.
Yes.
You know, usually, I used to hang up at 228 years ago, it was a single lane road, 79 stopped right there, and you could just pull over anywhere on 228 and go in the woods and hunt. And now I just drive up there and it's just no hunting, and just massive plants, Treesdale's a big plant, I used to hunt Treesdale, apple orchard, you know, so.
And I mean, it's
Yeah.
coming, it's coming.
Oh, yeah, it's coming.
It's here.
Yeah, you go right across, 19,
Oh, it's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
and it's just housing plans going everywhere, and that's the last thing this township needs.
You should have been here 2 years ago.
So, what would the township need to do, I don't know if this is a question for the solicitor, in order for us to request that money from you, in order to aid us in acquiring?
Along with the stipulations.
Along with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
stipulations, yeah.
Just, you know, #1, I see you're open to the idea of archery hunting or whatever type of hunting you would want. You know, every year we hold a pheasant hunt at Raccoon Park for the youth, and there's all RSOs, range safety officers, mentors, game commissions there. I mean, it's all regulated, you know, we take the kids out 1 at a time, 2 at a time, depending, we got dog handlers, we got everything. So that whole bottom land where the big lake was, I call it the lower lake, that's beautiful bird habitat in there. So that's, you know, those are things, and again, as you start building the park up, and maybe you put a pavilion here, or you do this, or then you could tighten up some things and make sure it's regulated, you know, where you put signs in the parking lot like, hey, youth hunt today, or, you know, park closed, or something like that, but you would still have it the other 320 days a year, you know?
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, I'll go back to them. We hold our meetings, the first Thursday of every month. And I'll go back and, talk to them and tell them what's going on here. I mean, you know, my partner and I, Tony Rich, you know, we did a lot of work, walking, raising money, all that stuff. $69,000 wasn't easy to run, but we did raise that on one ticket. You know, we sold 1,000 tickets, $100 a piece, and there was a lot of good prizes and everything on there. And everybody knew it was for Hereford Manor, so guess what?
They bought it.
Everybody jumped on because everybody had a story of where they fished here with their dad, their grandfather, or whatever, you know, so.
Would you be willing to do it
So,
again?
what's that?
Would you be willing to do it again? Like to,
Yeah.
Question for
Where you
you.
need me to
Would it
go?
be beneficial for Franklin Township to join Franklin's, dinner for them to present this idea to
Well,
them?
I'll ask that. We're holding a president's dinner at Northside Sportsman's Club next month. And, or might be this month. I'll look, I'll get you the information. But, because, you know, we have that money. But a lot of sportsmen's clubs may say, hey, we'll give you this or we'll give you that, only because they want everything to stay green too. So that's stuff that we can solicit, not only from Beaver County, but also, Allegheny County. You know, their sportsmen's, conservation league as well. I mean, that's pretty big, powerful group as well, so. But I'll go back to them, I'll talk to them, I'll tell them some of this, and, you know, it's like anything, right? I told them the last Thursday, or first Thursday of the month, this month, that I was coming here at 6:30, and, oh, I'll see you there, I'll see you there. Well, I don't know if there's another room, but I'm seeing them in here, but the bottom line is, everybody does have an interest. We got that money sitting there, that money's sitting in my name only, now that Tony died. And so I kept asking me, hey, somebody wanna go out there and put this in your name, in case something happens to me, you know, so the bottom line is, you know, the questions they asked at last meeting seemed like they were really interested too, so. You know, so I think that we can work together, I think that, you know, I'm not promising right now, cause I have 20 other sportsmen's clubs that could come in, even though some of them weren't involved when we raised that money, they weren't involved when we put it into Wildlife for Everyone Endowment Fund. We knew all those people out there, and we rode out and met with them and everything, and it did well. I mean, money almost doubled, so. Now, did the other group come?
Yes, and, it's David Adams, he's
Okay,
sitting here in
I
the
know we
front.
talked on the phone
Yes,
a couple times, years ago. You know, they were pulling in one direction, we were going, and we hoped that someday we'd meet in the middle, right?
I think Tony was here for a couple of meetings too.
Yeah,
Tony was here.
yeah, okay, yeah,
so they did come and, you know, they expressed interest in helping us,
okay, good.
giving us
Good.
the money to
Yeah, I know
acquire land.
Tony met with them more than I did, but, Tony was the president of Beaver County Sportsman's Conservation League at that time, so.
So when you said you weren't sure about the others, like, can you just maybe clarify that? You think they wanna try to use the money for something other than Hereford?
No, I mean, no, I said I have to go back to all the clubs at a meeting and say, hey,
Okay.
you know, this is what I found out and this and that. And then we do yays and nays.
Yeah.
And then I also have to talk to the Wildlife for Everyone Endowment Fund, just say, hey, you know, if we could, but they called me as well. And they said, hey, there might be a project you guys wanna get involved with. And they have a lot of money as well.
I did, reach out to them again after
Mhm.
talking to you, and their money, I think it was Julie said that their money is more for funding projects, you know,
Mhm.
for different conservation, things. She said, like recently, I wanna say they help with the lake and different
Yeah.
things, not necessarily to to grant us money to
Yeah.
purchase land. She said,
Yeah.
once we purchased it, we could possibly reach out and they could help us with something there, but it
Right.
wasn't to acquire the land.
Yeah, well, you know, we could, again, down the road, solicit that and, go from there, but I know the guy that's in charge of that is, I was thinking he's like 90 years old right now, so, yeah. So, no, I'll take it back to them, like I said, they all seem pretty interested, from what I'm hearing tonight. I mean, I see everybody seems like they're pushing for it, I'm sure there's somebody on one of these roads out here that's not for it. But how could you not be for it if it's not gonna be any tax dollars in it,
Yeah,
right?
agreed. So I will email you, I know the Wildlife for Everyone Foundation, they have our secretary's email, but I will, email you her information as well, so you can get back to her and you guys can communicate, cause that's where it would go from here, but does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah.
Heather?
He said they raised 60,000 off of one ticket.
69.
69,000. Would you be willing to do it again? Cause that would cover it.
Yeah, as long as they got people who sell it. I didn't sell 1,000 tickets myself. The bottom line is you can do that,
What were the
especially if
tickets
it's
for?
for a project.
Yeah, what were the tickets for?
Guns.
Oh, okay.
Could we do,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
can you do that on Facebook like all the other townships do?
Well, there's,
for,
yeah, there's
like,
people who sell
fire-
tickets over Facebook and things like that. I mean, I personally don't. I mean, you know, we hand them out to the, Sportsman's Club and with that being so close, now you can involve Lawrence County Sportsman's Clubs to help sell, Butler County Sportsman's Clubs to help sell. You know, cause it's a gun ticket, but you can make it a money ticket. I don't care, you know, but I know people buy money tickets. Ladies like to buy money tickets. So.
And so you would be
I
able to
sell too many
facilitate that?
tickets. Huh?
Well, I
You would
think,
be able to facilitate, like, doing that if we could get the
Yeah, we
people
could
to
figure that
sell
out.
it?
I
Yeah.
think that and again, I'm not stepping on your toes here, I think he's done enough just for coming here.
Oh,
And being
absolutely.
from our township, I would think if that's something that we decide to move forward with, and I don't know
Yeah,
that
that's-
selling raffle tickets.
Again,
would be
that's for
something-
your wishes.
Oh,
You
okay.
want
for
a,
our
you want a
wishes.
pavilion, or, you know,
He's already got
the
it.
conservation district, you know, that's something down the road, they might be able to help through with grants.
I mean, selling tickets for this is a good idea too,
Yeah.
You just gotta watch, cause you have to have a special permit for that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm
well,
saying if he already has
We
it
could run it
established.
under, my sportsman's club, cause I have a small game of chance license.
Okay.
So we could run it under there, you know what I mean, but that's down the road, you know, it's that's another meeting.
I mean, listening to everything, like, what I would like to do is, you know, ask the supervisors if they would consider, moving forward, because again, we don't have the money from this
Sure.
foundation here,
Yeah.
from the Beaver County Sportsman's Conservation, and we don't have, the other money here from your organization yet. But I would like to move forward with being able to solicit and accept funds from individuals or businesses and organizations, just as a donation, for the purpose of acquiring, the Hereford Manor Lake property. You know, writing a letter, even an email blast, you know, and being able to accept and hold that money until we reached our goal. And again, we can still apply for grants and such, but that is what I'd like to see.
I think you'd have a lot more success in generating those funds from the local community if you went out and you said, we got this grant for 300, we've got a partnership with, Beaver, Sportsman Club for, $120,000, or was it 150?
He's good.
Maybe.
See that, it's one up, but, and we got another 10 from the Hereford Manor Association, so we're trying to raise another 40. But once we have that money secured, I think that puts us in, you in a better position to come out and say, hey, help us reach our goal so we can acquire this property.
Yeah.
So again, it'd be the Hereford Manor Lake Conservancy and Watershed Group, which David Adams and his wife Jean are here representing.
And you're representing too, right?
And then, what is your name?
Liz and Bob Peters.
Liz and Bob Peters, okay, so I apologize for
Oh, no
leaving me
problem.
out, but I know you've been here at other meetings, I wasn't sure if we're
No
Was there
problem.
anyone, I think, was there anyone else who came to the meetings with John Ball?
I was surprised to see John Ball was back in 2000, was it 2006 or 2009? I can't remember. Like he was a president at one time. I was blown away. Yeah.
Really passionate about it.
Yes, it was all his land at one point in time, correct? So, and again, Jerry from the Beaver County Sportsman's Conservation League, I just wanna make sure we get that straight, so.
And do you have the Peterson number then? Would you be willing to give me your phone number?
Oh, yeah.
In case we need to get
Yeah, we have all your stuff here.
Oh, great, okay.
But I would like permission or a motion, well, let me, go ahead.
So a question, and maybe the solicitor can answer this. You're talking about sending letters and stuff. Can you do a give, send, go fund or GoFundMe? Because that way it can be shared. That's just emailing a link. And one of them, I know they don't take much money off of you.
Yeah.
The majority of the funds.
I don't know if
Can?
Give, Send, Go, is that tax deductible? I know when you do GoFundMe, your donation is not tax deductible. If somebody were to donate to the township, where is it here?
It is deductible under
Yeah.
a specific provision of the IRS code.
Yes, as long as, here, a donation to a second-class township, which is what we are, in Pennsylvania, for purchasing land for public or green space can be a tax write-off because it's a donation to the local government for a public purpose. And it would be a tax write-off for those that, may itemize on their tax return, which I'm not sure if Give, Send, Go, would qualify under that. I'm just not sure about that.
So what are you looking for, Dana? You just want us to go,
Motion
you're not
to
looking for a
continue to-
specific mechanism
To-
of how
to
we're
we-
gonna do it, just, you just
that we
want
can
approval from the
solicit-
supervisor, say, let's go. We'll figure it out as we go,
Accept
right?
some be able to accept and solicit
Yeah.
donations for the acquisition of the Hereford Manor property. Because leaving here tonight, we have nothing, in concrete at this point in time. What?
Would you be setting it up as a separate bank account and everything to control the funds and your
She
market?
has a bank account that I talked to Shannon that it can go into, and then she would just designate those
Your
funds
market.
for, Hereford Manor. It's not opening up a new bank account, it's just basically whatever money comes in, she would just
But it is
keep
formally
separate.
earmarked, so.
Yeah, it would be,
correct, it
yes,
would be.
for that specific, purpose.
So what we would need would be a letter from you asking for this donation
For the donation,
from the
to-
Hereford Manor Conservancy.
yes, to
Okay.
purchase, Hereford Manor Lake, and again, with
understand what she's
supervisor's
doing.
permission, I would like to proceed with, and get Shannon's away, but to just, get that letter drafted, and then also present something to, Jerry Hooks over here, that he can maybe have something documented that we can move forward, because I would like to move ahead with starting to raise the funds.
Sure, you have our address, right?
Yes.
I'm sure you do, yeah.
So, that's what I'm looking for. Not sure what anybody else is.
You wanna make that motion, Ron?
Yeah, I move to allow the Franklin Township supervisors to move forward, facilitating the fundraising and money acquisition for the acquisition of Hereford Manor property.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second to allow us to move forward with raising money for the acquisition of the Hereford Manor Lake property. First by Rod, second by, Scotty. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. So, is there anybody else who has anything that they would like to?
Legally,
Go ahead. She calls on.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, yes, yes.
Go ahead, I know your
So-
question, go.
What would, so we have this money in a fund, you know, in our PNC bank. And so the group hasn't been active for many, many years. How can we can just, Dave can just go ahead and write a check to you, I mean, without any type of legal liabilities?
And without understanding the articles of incorporation, the application for a 501c3 and your stated purpose, and the total amount that was generated, I mean, there are certain regulations, obligations, and guidelines. but assuming that that distribution is in line with the stated purpose of your nonprofit, I don't see that there is any issue with the donation from the Hereford Manor group. Obviously, it would have to be approved by the board of directors or your board.
We don't have one. I
What's
mean,
ever
This is
left?
the board right here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would still have to be approved.
but how do
Jim,
we
the one
have
who's
it?
Correct.
no longer
I mean,
with
how-
us.
Yeah.
Betty Lambert.
And so
What if
Because it's
nobody
five,
does?
I mean, it's,
it's a
yeah,
501c3, and I know
Correct.
they've been filing at least their 990 e-postcard for multiple years, so I commend you for that, because a lot of
well,
people
then they're
don't.
doing probably more than
They're
a
doing more
lot
than
of
most, yeah.
nonprofits,
Yes.
correct?
So even if we just have 2 or 3 people show up, that's still considered the membership?
Correct, and as long as you document the minutes and perhaps document it with a resolution, based upon the request of the township, I don't perceive that as an issue from a legal perspective, Ms. Adams.
And you also said the key word earlier, that your organization was for the
Position.
purchase of the land.
Right.
Correct.
So this fits right into your resolution.
It was for the restoration of the dam.
See that,
That's not what
and
she said earlier, though.
I
yeah,
don't believe we were ever I might be wrong. But all our feasibility
Sure,
studies
your
was to
routing
get
numbers
a
was a joke.
restoration of the dam.
So we may have to.
that there
some
may,
legal-
correct, there may, and did you have counsel that assisted
Do
you
you have any better
in the
information?
incorporation of the nonprofit? Because
Yeah,
the incorporation of the nonprofit is done at the state level, but then there's the application for the 501c3 or 501 whatever subparts you apply for, and that's done through the Internal Revenue Service. And sometimes nonprofits aren't aware that they're not a 501c3, and that's important, or a 501c whatever it is, because that allows for the tax deductibility of any donation. So you may not even, you have a 501c3 exemption.
It wasn't, it was Mr. Ball, I
Mr.
believe,
Ball
that
was
first had set
the
it up.
driving force. He went to,
Yeah.
It could have expired.
I mean, those are things that I need to, those are things that I need to understand in order to give any concrete legal analysis.
I will try to find,
And I can
his
go through
information.
this.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Even to see if we can get a copy of the, application for the 501c3 to see what was specifically,
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
you can,
mission was on there.
you can look that up through the
I-
EIN number.
I did, it wasn't, their letter wasn't on there or anything, so I did look.
Would you write up something so if we were not to get all the money, that these folks would get their money back? If we weren't able to purchase it, if we weren't getting the asking price?
That the money would be returned to
To
the,
them,
to the
as a group?
specific, yeah, I mean, I think that would obviously be something that we would want, I mean, depending on how they wanna do it, I'd be more than happy to put that in some form of an agreement, or, I mean, that it could even be passed as a resolution specifically by the supervisors indicating that these donations will be accepted and will be returned in the event that we do not acquire the, real estate.
And I think, again, I know everybody wanted to raise money to put the lakes back. Like, that was what everybody wanted, was the lakes. And that is not gonna happen. And the next best thing would be the property, in my mind.
Yeah.
Again, as long as, the people that are in control of that money, would allow that. And like I said, I did look up the, 501c3 information for them, but was not able to find, their determination letter or not. But that's how I found Mr. Ball had started it, so. Brian?
Along the lines of complying with your newly adopted comprehensive plan, and there was a mention of a Parks and Recreations Board, you might wanna consider kicking off an advertisement for a Parks and Recreations Board and the establishment of some policy and rules for that board to operate by, so that we can get in front of this
Yeah.
before, rather than trying to play catch up. Might be a good time to do that now.
You are correct. And we did have, workshops about the Parks and Rec Board before, but we never finished, but we do need to, get back at that, so. Anybody else have anything that they would like to say?
Let's get it done.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion, to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn. Second.
We have first and second, all those in favor, to adjourn, signify by saying aye. Thank you, everybody.